took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear? You turn your heart away from me each time when I draw near. Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear. As if you should not know that your reflection is sincere.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI.
Knowing that your eyes are blinded by the lies.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
Your eyes are blinded by the lies. Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies.
Catch the free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the
8621.
you sold me boys, brought me right eternity, like city thieves who thunder in the shadows of the night. They break inside and enter through the windows of your mind. How can I?
I remember real clear years ago in the swamps of South Georgia. Cane pulling crossmen in my hands, all I needed to be growed up. Homemade ice cream and barbecue, and the family on Friday nights. 10-lane ram. It's high time we embrace the tool that keeps all men free.
Good morning, brothers of radio listeners. Sun is rising across this great United States, and that means straight from the heart of Texas. It is time for Clayton Douglas, the free American. Take it away, Clayton.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. And my guest today is Dr. Peter Lindemann. Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm great, Douglas. Thanks, Clayton. Really great to be here on your show.
Wonderful to have you back. Let's see, how long has it been?
Oh man, you and I have been hanging out in New Mexico back in the '90s. It's been a while.
Yes, sir. I remember you from there, and it's interesting. I've been through a lot of changes since then. Almost killed in a motorcycle accident, and pretty much lost everything and started it all over again. But you know what, I had a plan for New Mexico. And I thought it was a good idea then. It may have been why they tried to kill me. That was something called Liberty Villages. And I asked myself how people lived 100 years ago, before the internet, before the banks took over. And I decided that the self-sufficient family farm was actually the basis of all civilizations since time immemorial. And today, if we could grow our own food and generate our own energy, we didn't need the banks or the government for nothing. And
Well, it'd still be nice if they delivered the mail or something.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to destroy everything, but we can certainly rework things. As a matter of fact, people are doing that. I made the comment the other day, and at least I've been thinking about it and working on it in my writing, that we've had the ability to turn this country into a Garden of Eden. We've had the technology for at least 100 years, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe we haven't had that technology for thousands of years. I recently just went back to Albuquerque to a Tesla convention, and I was kind of amazed because there were no Tesla devices in the whole show. There were also not anything like magnetic motors or Stirling engines or anything like that. And I've had some questions like how did Lindbergh fly all the way across that ocean and one tank of gas in the Cessna? What do you specialize in energy? Give me a little bit of your background first, so people know what we're talking about. Your website is www.free-energy. So obviously we're talking about the energy situation and the green energy that I think the government wants to foist on us. Is selling the top of that mountain there to a company in China, so they come in and put big windmills up there, kill a few eagles, and they pump the energy back down to the power company, and the power company will be happy to sell it to you at a little increased cost. Am I being too cynical about this whole power industry? The fact that we're running on foreign oil instead of alcohol or hemp?
No, I don't think you're being cynical. I think even a cursory look at the situation suggests that there isn't a level playing field in the economy in regards to energy. There are a number of hurdles to get over for a person who wants to be energy independent, and those have been made very difficult. Just going to turn off this phone here. And so it's not cynical of you at all. Here's the problem the average person is up against is twofold. One, every device that we own that is designed to use energy is also designed specifically to waste probably between 60 and 80% of the energy that it uses, which means that you start out by having to, buy 5 times more than you really need. And then, of course, the grid system has about 50% loss between the generator and your home, so there's another huge waste. And then beyond that, then they sell the power to you for, maybe between, we've got really low energy costs up here, up in the Pacific Northwest because of all the hydro, but everybody else is probably 10 cents a kilowatt hour or higher. And so it's really difficult to put an energy system into your home because when the costs are that low to stay where you are. So most people don't want to buy all the energy they'll ever use for their whole life, next month to put in a system, which is what we've been, offered. And then for solar and things like that, if you want power at night, when the sun goes down, then you need batteries, and people don't know how to maintain their batteries, so they're buying batteries every 3 years. And so it ends up being very, very costly. The price per kilowatt hour goes to $1, $1.50, and you're not energy independent any more than you were before, because you're buying batteries all the time, you're having to maintenance all these things. So, you're not being cynical. We've been handed a complete non-solution. The only supposed energy independent solution that we've been offered in the market is a total non-solution to real energy independence.
Even I'd like to get your comments, because I just read about the nuclear power plants, where they're supposedly we're at as much at risk here, especially since they're all strung out along the Mississippi River there. We're all subject to a earthquake on the fault line there.
The New Madrid fault.
The New Madrid fault line, yes, sir. It's they even warned in my film, True Face of FEMA, they even warned about, in case of a disaster, significant magnitude, like along the earthquake along the New Madrid fault line, we'll need 400,000-mile arm, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, because some of them just won't follow orders. That was the first Homeland Security meeting.
They won't stay in the radioactive zone. They won't do all of those things. Yeah, they'll want to leave.
But somebody else said that the whole nuclear industry is almost a scam, because there is a way to process the fuel so that it doesn't stay radioactive. And
that's true.
So we've been set up on that too, haven't we?
Absolutely. The first writings that talked about how to modify the half-life of nuclear materials was published in 1901 and by a gentleman named Gustav Lindemann. And Lindemann showed in experimental setups that he could reduce the half-life of radium by 50% just by heating it to incandescence. In other words, warming it up until it glowed bright orange, and then letting it cool off, and its half-life was already 50% shorter. So, I mean, there's really simple ways of doing these types of things, and the nuclear industry has definitely not wanted the public to know that there is a simple solution for getting rid of nuclear waste.
And what about our own alcohol? I mean, the research that I've done said that the alcohol, I mean, we were producing our own alcohol just fine until Prohibition. Suddenly making fuel for your car was illegal.
Yeah, the way they did that, pretty much when Henry Ford started building his cars, the Model T in particular, was designed to run on two fuels that Ford actually made and distributed in his own filling stations. They were called Fordsol and Benzol, and so most of the early Model Ts ran on various forms of alcohol. And but he stayed with it too long, and the technology got way ahead of him, and all the other distributors or all the other car manufacturers were running on various light distillates, which were called gasoline, but weren't anything like the gasoline we use today. And so Ford was basically stuck at the end of the 20s he had been making the tea for far too long, and the technology just wasn't any good anymore, and he was just about bankrupt. And so he cut a deal with J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers, and basically said, if you'll loan me the money to retool to make the new Model A, then I'll make it a gasoline burning engine, and I'll shut down the fuel stations. And that's what happened. So that's a matter of history. Ford wanted everybody to be energy independent. But the big story for biofuels is the diesel engine. Otto Diesel, his engine, the original diesel engines were designed to run on peanut oil that farmers could grow themselves. So the diesel engine was the original biofuel engine, or heavy oil engine. And he was really interested in making sure that a technology was available to the average person to be able to power their own farms without having to buy petroleum products. And they got rid of him. His life ended one evening on a crossing from France to England on the English Channel, where he got on the boat and never got off the boat at shore. Somewhere along the line, he was either tossed over or slipped on a banana peel or whatever else, but he died in the English Channel. And then the diesel engine was basically retooled to burn heavy distillates of petroleum.
Now,
the rest is history.
I just had somebody, I believe we've got a mutual acquaintance here. I had somebody on my show that 25 years ago I drove him around while he demonstrated his new carburation system. That'd be Paul Pantone. He created GEAT.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
he's we spent almost 2 years trying to get him out of an insane asylum. He wouldn't sign over his patents. He wouldn't bow to pressure, and ended up pulling every tooth in his head and holding him for a couple of years. And he's still being attacked by one of our mutual enemies there, Southern Poverty Law. They tried to do a hit piece on him the way they've tried to do a hit piece on me, 15 times in the last 20 years. But his device, he says he can get 50 miles to the gallon, but he says it's illegal in this country to get more than 50 miles a gallon, and there are diesel vehicles built over in Germany that are not allowed to be sold here in America. Is that accurate information that I've got?
I think so. I mean, I've been in Europe and driven around in Renaults and other clean diesel types of Volkswagens. The clean diesel Volkswagen 1.1 liter engine is not allowed to be used in cars here. I think the smallest one you can get here in the U.S. is the 1.7 liter that gets maybe about 45 miles a gallon. But the ones in Europe get the 1.1 liter engines get 70 miles a gallon. I knew a friend who had a really nice Renault station wagon type vehicle, European clean diesel. Didn't smell like a diesel, didn't run like a diesel, didn't, had plenty of pep. And pretty much he, broke every, rule in the book, floored it at every, coming off every stoplight and, zooming around and everything. He would get about 55 miles a gallon, and if he nursed it, at 55 miles an hour, on flat straights, you can get 75 miles a gallon. So, and those things are sold over in Europe all the time. So, You can't get that car here. I've been told you can't even import one, even if you bought one over there. You can't even bring one over.
I've heard that they will crush it. They will confiscate it and crush it.
Yeah, something. You don't see any of those things over here. I mean, we're supposed to believe over here in the United States that the Prius, electric hybrid, that gets about 45 miles a gallon on the highway and 55 in town, is like the best thing since sliced bread. But even the 1976 diesel Rabbit got 65 miles a gallon. So, it just shows you that if they wait 20 years, nobody remembers anything. So, they've definitely kind of decided, how much gas we're going to use. Recently, I was working with a friend to develop a little gas generator. Our plan was to figure out a set of modifications to make a gas jet on the carburetor completely closed. And so when we got back after the crash, we kind of had to dig down and earn a living again. But then we got back to it later last year, and we bought a relatively easily available generator and started working with it. And we found out that they had replaced the adjustable jet carburetor with a fixed jet carburetor. In other words, you couldn't modify how much gas was going into it, and no matter what we did to it in relationship to no, we're talking the plasma ignition system is actually something that puts a much more robust spark at the spark plug.
Okay.
So it's a simpler modification than Paul's heat machine. We were trying to make something that was readily easy to modify, but actually they're closing every little loophole. Behind the scenes, they're closing every little loophole you can imagine.
My father-in-law was a man by the name of Sheriff Babcock, and he worked on the Aswan Dam. Could build anything. He built a Pogue carburetor for his Ford truck or Dodge truck, and was working on another one for his neighbor, Colonel Roy Conrad, and two guys in blue suits showed up and said, Mr. Babcock, you got to destroy it, or you got to take that carburetor out of your truck there and destroy it, and the one you're building for your neighbor over there, you got to destroy that too. What if I don't? He said. They said, we'll kill you. He said, I said, what'd you do? He said, well, I believed him. I took it off. Are they going to that extreme? This was 20 years ago. And I'm sure we've never heard exactly what happened to Pogue, have we? But he did get a patent out.
The thing was, Pogue, what happened with Pogue was one of the first carburetors where he was recycling exhaust heat, through a heat exchanger system to vaporize the fuel better. And they basically defeated the functions of the Pogue He had already sold too many of them for them to, round up everybody. But what they did was they uniformly changed the mixture of the fuel so that it didn't have the same vaporization temperatures. And so the carburetors stopped working out of the field because they were fussing with the gasoline formula. And this is one of the reasons why they keep changing the formula every 6 months, no matter where you are, just to make sure that if you're running one of these methodologies, it doesn't work for very long.
All right, let me ask you in another vein. We've got ships out there floating on the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, and with a minor modifications, I believe, they could be set up to run on hydrogen. All they'd have to do is throw a hose off of the side, open up a vent on the side of the boat, let the water in, convert the water to hydrogen, and run the ships on it. I mean, that technology is here right now. It's is one of the reasons we don't think about hydrogen much in this country, because of them blowing up the Zeppelin.
Well, it's hard to say. Actually, your statement that you can run a big ship on hydrogen from seawater is not actually quite true.
Okay.
Nobody has ever gotten an engine to run that way. The actual way of using water fuel, and this was developed by Stan Meyer and quite a number of others, was to do two things. You're not actually burning the hydrogen. There's a misnomer about the energy in hydrogen.
Okay.
And everybody thinks that burning hydrogen is where the energy is. But if you put hydrogen and a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen together and put a spark in it, it detonates. In other words, it's an explosion. And the burn rate is about 5,000 feet a second. So it's a very, very vigorous and very, very rapid exothermic reaction. And that is no good to run an engine, because what you do is because you're trying to get mechanical energy out of the machine when the piston is basically top dead center, and the whole thing just goes ping, and then the event is over, and there's no mechanical energy to push the piston down around the stroke. So that isn't what works. What they did find what works is this, is that if you take the incoming air and you subject it to a very small amount of positive do is you make a very modest amount of hydrogen and oxygen from an electrolysis cell, so you made your hydrogen and more oxygen. And then you react that material with the incoming air that's had all of the stray electrons taken out of it. And what happens is that when the hydrogen reacts at that point, combustion engine on ammonia. There's millions of hits. They use it in racing as an additive. It's a very long, slow burn process, and the energy in breaking the hydrogen-nitrogen bond is actually much, much higher than just breaking the hydrogen-hydrogen bond. And that's actually the method of running an internal combustion engine on water fuel. That's the real science of it. That's the way it works. So you can't do it. The other thing most people don't know is that the Navy has instituted a process whereby they can create all the jet fuel they need for all the jet airplanes right on the carriers. They're using a similar situation, but they're actually recycling carbon dioxide and some other things. They react the hydrogen with carbon dioxide to produce methane and some other things. So they're actually producing. Their goal is to produce all of the fuel that their airplanes need right there on the aircraft carriers, because most of the aircraft carriers have nuclear power plants, so they've got electricity. They got plenty of electricity, and so these things are already well underway. So is the science real about making on-demand fuels? Absolutely true.
All right, let's switch here.
And a lot of them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please finish. I want to switch to another type of fuel. Now I've seen videos of machines running supposedly in Australia, magnetic generators that were stackable and would one little magnetic generator would supposedly run a whole house. But I've never seen that here. I never saw one at the Tesla convention. I have interviewed Joseph Newman about what he's got in his backyard, but it doesn't look like something that's commercially applicable. Is there a law against magnetic generators here? Do they exist? And what's the situation on that?
Okay, one, do they exist? Absolutely, of course, they exist. The machine that you were referring to, the videos on the internet of the machines in Australia were developed by a team of guys, Lou Christie and John Christie and Lou Bridge, okay? And they had started a company called Lou-Tech, and they had developed a number of working machines. They raised millions of dollars to try and tool this up. They had a lot of trouble scaling it to a larger level. Then they kind of backed off and developed the machines that you saw, which they call the LEA, or the Lou-Tech electricity amplifier. And each one of those stackable units was able to produce somewhere around 3 times more electricity than it was running on. And so if you started with, say, 100 watts and you had 7 or 8 of these things stacked up, then you'd probably have enough at the end as you cascade the gain to run your house. They had claimed back right around 10 years ago that they were going to bring a fuelless power plant system to the market in Australia. They never did. They raised an awful lot of money. I think all of their investors lost everything, which is typical. And eventually, the technology was sold to a company in Singapore, who had some information on it on one of their websites until a couple of years ago, and then finally the whole thing was just shut down. I think all the websites now are shut down. You can't find any references to any of it anymore.
That's a little
they were not
suspicious, isn't
able
it?
to bring anything to market. Well,
I mean, this is these companies are being.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The companies are being attacked. They're being they're basically being stopped, being put out of business somehow. Is that correct? Are they just bad management, poor management, or are they cons?
Well, I think there's all of those things operating out there. I would say that genuine suppression of a technology, probably happens about 2% of the time. In other words, if somebody else doesn't become their own worst enemy, then they're waiting in the wings to be the person's worst enemy. But I think most people have get into this kind of research with unrealistic goals, insufficient scientific any of his technology actually works.
Okay.
In relationship to what Iran is doing, they say they're developing nuclear energy, to become energy self-sufficient and everything. But they have the third largest oil reserves in the world, and but they don't have any refineries. They sell crude oil on the open market and buy gasoline and everything else on the open market. And if they wanted to be energy self-sufficient, they'd build a few oil refineries and be done. So I don't believe that I don't believe that they're not trying to develop nuclear weapons. They have seen that North Korea. Once you get them, it changes your game. And I don't think we're against Iran because of caching. That's very unlikely.
Okay. Here, let's come back here. Now, I mentioned that I tried to do Liberty Villages, and nobody could do that. Nobody could come out to Bingham, New Mexico. They couldn't move because they got jobs. So if we're going to make any real changes and make any real advances, I think we got to do it in our homes, in our own neighborhoods. We got to start in our own neighborhoods, our own counties, our own towns, to maybe turn the hand of time back to a time when we were a little bit more self-sufficient, when we grew our own food, when we weren't being poisoned. And for my Liberty Village concept, I said, well, if we can grow our own food in our backyards and power our homes from the wind or the sun, whatever God gave us, we don't really need the government for much. And most of these neighborhoods we live in were raised up on farms or ranches at one time. And maybe going back a little ways, I've seen diesel generators, or diesel a machine that would refine your grease and make biodiesel out of it. Have you seen those? Those are on the market. This is in the catalog, I believe.
Yeah, you can definitely, like I said earlier in the show, Autodiesel's engine was originally designed to run on vegetable oil, peanut oil in particular in the beginning, but it runs perfectly on Crisco. So, in fact, going through the process of adding lye and heating it and doing all that stuff to make, the pure, quote, biodiesel, esters, unquote, is completely unnecessary. There's a company right here in Spokane, Washington, where I live, that's been converting engines to running on basically, just filtered vegetable oil without having converted to, a supposed real biodiesel. And I mean, they just buy, get the diesel. And so people who were doing these things were definitely being harassed and told that they were breaking the law and all, because they were using the roads without paying the tax.
That's why they dye the diesel.
But the technology worked.
What about a neighborhood? Let's say if
anybody who's ever tried to turn the diesel back into a...
I'm sorry, repeat that. Repeat that.
Hey, break it up, Mike.
Yeah, I lost you there for a second. All right, I think I've got you here now. Okay. Uh,
Okay.
can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. The technology is here. We can get better gas mileage. We can get more efficient. You know, could we take a block here in a city block and put together a plan to convert their backyards into food production units and to make the house more energy efficient or to be able to generate their own energy? Does that technology work today? I mean, how hard is it to buy solar film? How hard is it to convert your roof into a solar collector? And while we're investigating all of this other technology that may or may not be real, may or may not be viable, a lot of it is. How can we utilize this? I mean, without cutting the banksters in for their share?
Well, I've been talking about these types of things on my website for over 10 years. And this is exactly the solution that's available today. Basically, as I was saying when we started, that what most people don't realize is that everything they buy in relationship to energy usage is designed to waste most of the energy that they buy. So their energy dollar does not really provide them much value at all. I'll give you a perfect example. If you do any kind of scientific research on the use of insulation, what you find is in the United States they use this R factor rating. In other words, when you buy insulation for the inside of a wall, it's rated at R19. You can go, to Home Depot and go to the insulations, and you can see that all of the fiber boards and everything else have insulation ratings, R dash and then a number. It could maintain a 20-degree difference for an hour. So what it means is that the insulation itself is leaking. In other words, change because there's no pathway for the heat to move. And so you have to ask yourself this question: how long will my coffee stay warm in a thermos? Because a thermos is, of course, we don't use thermoses anymore because we just go to Starbucks. But a thermos has an hour rating of about 250. And you could put hot coffee in a thermos, this morning, and it would still be hot tomorrow morning. And that's the whole point. That heat, the heat that you have today can warm you for a week if you want. You don't have to keep making more heat in the winter with your furnace. The only thing your furnace is doing is making up for the heat that's leaking out through the walls. So it's not the heat that's keeping you warm. So once you understand how insulation works, then we can look at an appliance like your water heater, for instance, and realize that they tell you that you're supposed to set the water heater for like 120 degrees, and of course you you know, further insulating your water heater. Same with your kitchen refrigerator and your freezers. Although there's tricks to each of these things depending on the model. And so, I mean, these are some of the biggest appliances as far as energy usage. Your refrigerator is turning on and off all the time. Your water heater is trying to keep the tank of water hot all day long, and you're only using it once in a while. So these are the places where you can lower your energy usage without, or you can lower your energy costs without changing your energy usage at all. And these are very simple things. The total cost of these refits is $100 here and $100 there for a continuous savings of 90%. So yeah, there's lots and lots of things you can do to make your home use way less energy. The same processes are true with the walls, the attic, your windows. I mean, that's where you want to spend the money. You spend the money on, the new super insulated windows, add insulation to the walls. There are paint-on insulations now where you can literally just paint on something or add an additive to any color paint you want, which will reflect all of the infrared back into your home. Just like if you put aluminum foil on the wall, so that would be very pretty. Things like this, a 98% heat reflection barrier right in the paint. All of these types of things are available right now.
And these are things. These are things or products.
There are a lot of things.
These are things and products that are available now, so somebody could start right now, today, if they have access to these, the names and numbers. They can get the type of installation and do these things in their own homes, in their own neighborhoods. Is that correct? We've got them. We can do that right now.
Absolutely true. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely right now. One of the paint-on insulation products is called Panthelate. It's a nanoparticle product. Very interesting. A friend of mine has experimented with that with good results. The kinds of insulation we recommend for water heaters and stuff you can get at a company called Insulation for Less. The product is called Prodex. It's a sealed foam. It's about a quarter of an inch of sealed foam with aluminum foil on both sides. You can put 3 or 4 layers of that around your water heater. It makes a layer of about an inch, but it absolutely stops heat leakage from the water heater and radically increases the efficiency or lowers the cost of having the same amount of hot water. These are very simple things to do. We've run dozens and dozens of experiments like this. Same with refrigerators. Because the refrigerator is supposed to be holding about a 30 degree differential, and they've got the walls to those things down so thin. There's less than R10 in the wall there. So, and again, you should have insulation in your refrigerator to about maybe R50, R60.
All right, we got to take a quick break here. Warm up the coffee. We'll be right back with Peter Lindemann, my guest. Hang on.
ship. Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth.
I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.
What is out of work or scared of losing their job? The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the gutter. Pumps are running water in the streets. There's nobody anywhere that seems to know what to do, and there's nothing to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe. Our food is unfit to eat. We know things are bad, worse than bad. I want you to get mad. I want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the strike and the street. All I know is this, buddy. You've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life, I tell you.
Yo! Be here Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Here at the news with Jason Brentwood. Because when it's time to crush, it's time for Jason. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. You oppose government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Now you can share the topics that drive the discussions of your favorite talk shows with TalkStream Live's topic-driven talk radio. List and promote real-time talk radio topics, or post the topics that you want to hear. Hot topics are tweeted and retweeted, and include simple click-to-listen audio links. The future of talk radio is topic-driven talk radio. Available now at TalkStreamLive.com.
Revolution Radio.
You ever see it, how close we are to absolute chaos? Sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drinking themselves into a stupor. Polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and they bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Get it.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com.
All right.
Is your data safe? You have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation. In survival, in gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns, you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is. Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive.
Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it, I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
All right. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. My guest today is Dr. Peter Lindemann, and we're talking. They're getting into the spirit of things here, Peter, in the chat room. The owner of the station pointed out that a human body can heat a 8 by 8 by 7 foot room if it's insulated perfectly. Unfortunately, you would suffocate without something to produce AC and clear CO2 and make oxygen, you know. But all this information, what I'm trying to figure out, based on the information available to us, how we could be more self-sufficient, how we could be more self-sufficient in our home, in our own neighborhood, in our towns. Right now, I feel that things aren't working too well. I think we're getting raked over the coals, you know, for our gasoline, for our energy cost, and you know, everything that goes along with that. How can we make it better? Is it possible that the technology out there is there? How could we make it better? How could we, if we actually got out and talked to our neighbors and said, hey, how about getting into this little project where we convert our backyards to gardens? Now that is being done in places like California, in places like Pasadena, I believe, families producing 6,000 pounds of food in their backyard. And they've got a number of solar devices that helps them do that.
I thought that message was about as blatant as you could get. Yeah, we definitely live in a you know, a fabricated vision of what this society really is, and you know, and you know, what my friends and I have said for quite a long time is, you know, as we have studied all of these solutions that are available, including using waste buying energy that you immediately throw away without using. And so that's the first step. And the reason that's the first step is let's say I've got a certain energy usage pattern in my home right now, like any listener who's listening. And if I went to figure out exactly, if I go to my power bill and I say, okay, I'm using this many kilowatt hours of electricity every month, and then I go to my solar store and I say, okay, this is how much energy I have to produce. And we design a solar system and a battery system and an inverter system and all these things to replace the amount of electricity that I'm using today. And let's say that system costs a staggering $25,000, which is probably a lowball figure for most people. But and then so I'm looking at that as the hurdle that I have to get over to become energy independent. Okay. However, if I go through my house first and I super insulate everything, and I include my water heater, my refrigerators, and put in new LED lighting, which uses less electricity, and all these things, and actually reduce the total amount of electricity that I'm using because I stop wasting energy. And so when I buy it, I actually get to use it properly. Then what happens to my power bill is that it drops by 75 to 80%. And now when I take that to the solar place and say, let's design a system that gives me that much energy, then it costs $5,000. Okay? So maybe the insulation changes in your home cost maybe $5,000. It's a one-time cost. It permanently reduces your energy needs. And then for another $5,000, you can put in a solar system or a wind system or whatever's available to make the rest. And now all of a sudden, I've become completely energy independent. I've stopped wasting energy, and it's still way less, way under that original $25,000 price tag that I thought it was going to take. So this is the beginning of understanding of how to do it with what's available today. And we've been trying to teach people this for years. We put out a book called Save on Home Energy, a blueprint for lowering your utility bills by 50%. And basically nobody cared. Nobody bought the book. Nobody, if you told people I could double the mileage of your car, they'd come to you like, flies on paper. But if you tell them that you can cut their utility bills in half, which is actually more significant from a monetary point of view, it's like they glaze over and say, "What's that? I don't understand. Why is that something I want?" And so my friends and I, basically came to the conclusion that all this means is that mass hypnosis works. And that's the matrix we're living in. People don't understand enough about the science to actually understand what they need to do to free themselves from this, imposed vision of limited alternatives. And even though the technologies are readily available right now for them to just step out, spend a few dollars wisely and, gain a tremendous benefit.
So it's really a matter of education right now. The technology's here. We know that we can do this. And people, everything I've suggested today about the gardens in the backyard, they're being done. People in Pasadena are producing 6,000 pounds of produce, and they're underwriting their costs. They're keeping their costs low because they've done exactly what you suggested. with just the additions of
Sure.
the raised gardens. We also have the ability to do these aquaponics, which is you can do again. You can do in your backyard, and then you've got your meat. You've got your fish that.
Yep.
Everything works together in harmony. Now, I think a lot of people would like to do that, but they're too busy. They don't know. They don't have the time. They don't have the expertise. I'm not good with tools. I can't do this. How do we
Yep.
organize these people here? Now, I came up with the concept because it's working in Oklahoma right now. Right now it's working. It's called the Oklahoma Food Co-op. Now, anytime a communist regime takes over a country, they go after the farmers first. Intelligentsia and action, veterans, and law enforcement about third in line, and that's where we already are right now. So what we have to prepare for is if this is a communist government suddenly, not really, but nothing sudden about it. It's been happening for 100 years. Sorry, sir?
Yeah, I think the Communist Party in the United States, closed its doors. I think in the 1940s, saying that the Republicans and Democrats had brought their entire platform into use. So, I mean, that's the only reason we don't have a Communist Party.
I volunteered to go fight the communists in Vietnam, but there weren't any over there. They were all over here. Every plank in the Communist Manifesto intact in America today. Ninth plank, corporate farms. Now, if all of these homes in all of these neighborhoods that we've got here, I'm in Corpus Christi now, but it doesn't matter where you're at. If you've got a neighborhood there, you've got you're part of a county. The county is our best bet for protection right now. 300 sheriffs in 300 counties have signed on to the Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Association, put on by Sheriff Richard Mack. We're making progress on that end. Now, in this food co-op in Oklahoma, they are putting the farmers together with people in the city. You sign up for the co-op for $50 and you buy straight from the farmer. We cut out all the middlemen. You deal straight with the farmers. And if we could do that in our own neighborhoods, like the couple or the family in Pasadena, I mean, is it possible? Are people just what the elite think they are, useless eaters? Is there a percentage enough of people that want to take back control of their lives, to wrest control from the banks and the energy companies? How did we live 100 years ago?
I think everybody would want to do that if they saw that was the highest point on the agenda. I think a lot of people aren't aware of the situation they're in, and therefore are not willing to take the kinds of actions you're willing to take right now, because they don't see that as the highest priority. I can tell you that starvation and bank closures and no food in the stores and no fuel at the pump is going to weigh the last 4 decades. I came to understand that we had been subjected to a broad-based, what I call, solutions embargo. In other words, anything that works, that's inexpensive, that promotes independence and non-dependence on the monopoly control of specific resources, was essentially forbidden to be available to any of us. And we're 4 generations into this right now, so the idea. Luckily, I was born in 1951 when some of this stuff wasn't in place yet. But the people who were born 20 years ago have never known anything other than pretty much what we've got. They were born after the internet was invented, and so when you say that we need gold and silver for money, and they're buying everything that they buy, with a credit card on the internet, they're saying, well, how can I do that with gold? That doesn't make any sense. You guys are nuts. So the point is that we have a situation that's very, very complex. That our point of view on these things is not understandable by a very large percentage of the population. They literally don't get it. It's not that they couldn't get it or may not be motivated to figure it out later. But right now, in the world that they grew up in, our point of view doesn't make any sense. And that's what we really have to change by doing these things. I go in and super insulate my house and show people the bill. Hey, you want to do that? I did it. It worked. Growing fruit in my backyard. I did it. It worked. Here's a really good tasting tomato. Try that. I think if we don't lead by example and do it, they're not going to know that there's anything that really can be done. And,
well, this is exactly what I came up with about 15 years ago, maybe even more than that. Now, how do we put this into effect? I mean, everything I've done has been to protect or to inform the American people so nothing like Waco could happen again. And I see a disaster rolling down the pike. They prepared for it. FEMA's prepared for it. The government's prepared for it. I've got their lectures. I've recorded their lectures. Case of a single outbreak of smallpox, a disease that's been extinct for 100 years. We'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops. They know what's coming. That if things are going to break down, it's going to break down in our banking system here. Already has. 2 or 3 times throughout history. I mean, if you study the news, you see that the big banks should be actually brought up on terms, and probably will be. And this is what they're scared for. This is why they're trying to, stir up the whole black on white thing with Zimmerman. This is all engineered. The whole Sandy Hook thing, just going back and killing kids again, to stir people up, to make them afraid. And I think it's what we're seeing happening, Peter, is that the bankers are starting to get nervous. You got the scandal over in Europe, the banking scandal. They've kicked them out of Iceland, and even Venezuela's still resisting them. Iran's certainly resisting this whole one world order of the banksters, by the banksters, and for the banksters. Now, Thomas Jefferson told us, if you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them, the Monsantos, the Halliburtons, will leave your children homeless in the land that we conquered. That's where we're at. That's why I think it's imperative that we do this, and it's really a matter of rearranging our thinking. But people have been isolated by the internet. All this information is right here. We found it. We're putting it out right now. All this information is on the internet. But most people don't know how to put it to use. Most people don't know how to put it into action. How badly do you want freedom? How,
right.
I mean, you really got a choice here. They have refined the art of slavery to the point that the slave don't know the slaves. I'm not a slave, man. I can go get my pickup and go get a beer. Watch.
Yeah.
Now, I want to change that. I want to
Exactly.
change that. You know, a long time ago, 45 years, I wrote a book about a world in the future where it didn't have prison camps, didn't have, weren't throwing people in jail because they were black or because they were had a forbidden plant in their pocket. I wrote a book about that. I'd like to see that happen. And what you have described, if we can put that into effect, and I'd like to just start out with one block, a neighborhood, any town, pick a town, your town, wherever you're at, where we can demonstrate this. This is how it is. This is how it works. Here's what we need to do. I'm talking about putting together a co-op right now. And if people are members of the co-op here, we'll help you, we'll guide you, we'll show you, we'll introduce you to the people that you can buy the insulation from. We'll introduce you to the people you can buy the solar film for, the solar paint, or the insulation. Will those people that produce that kind of thing,
Right.
and will they support a co-op that we're all a member of? I mean, if you can... you can buy your food straight from the farmers. We ought to be able to buy your fuel straight from somebody that can convert it, set up for it. I mean, that's the American way, ain't it? Now let's do it in the neighborhood. Let's do it in the neighborhood. Let's do it as a co-op. I don't need to. You've done all of the research on there. How do we put it into operation right now? If we're really facing something that's coming up here, and they're preparing for it, they're putting out 50 million rounds or 50 or billions of rounds of ammo to Homeland Security. There's got to be something up. How do we do this? How do we make this work?
There's definitely. Well, here's the trouble. I look at it this way, kind of in a long-term historical view, is that the human race is the most ruthless survivor on the planet. We lived through the last 4 ice ages with nothing but fire and animal skins. So we don't need more technology to survive. We need technology to survive comfortably, but not to survive. The other thing is that the main thing that the Matrix, has done to us, and you can see it in the airports, when you come in on a flight, is that in spite of the fact that there's very high levels of population density in any given area, nobody's interacting with each other. Everybody's, talking to their little box. And, so that neighbors don't know who their neighbors are, and these are the boundaries, these are the barriers we have to break down. The most effective part of our brainwashing has been the divide and conquer methodology that's been used against us, in the sense that everybody who's thinking the way we're talking about here on this show thinks that they're alone in their little, part of the world, and that there's no one else around them who thinks this way, and that it's
You know, we don't want that stuff there. This is it's got to be organic. You can't use Roundup. You can't have this and you can't have that. That's guidelines. That's just guidelines. Just giving somebody. You want to put a small pan-tons generator in your garage? Here's how to modify it. Here's the plans. Here's the plans. You're a member of the co-op. You get the plans. And if we do these and we can target these county by county, now there is it's really just a matter of coordination. I've always bought wholesale. I've always bought wholesale. So I tell you what, everybody on my block, I'll give you coffee for wholesale plus 10%. I'll give you sugar for wholesale plus 10%. I'm buying it by the ton. I'm buying it by the ton. So you want to save some money? Join the co-op. You want to get some the right information? Join the co-op. It's non-threatening. It's run county by county, and all we're trying to do is say, hey, here's how you can be a little bit more productive. Here's how you can be a little bit more constitutional. Here's how you can be. Here's how you can save money.
It's more important than that too, because what it is that the money that comes into the county stays in the county.
Yes, sir.
That's the most important thing, that people, so that, many of us, I make almost all my money on the internet, which means that I'm bringing money into my local economy from all over the world.
Yes.
But then if I could spend it into this co-op, then the co-op would be getting richer and richer and richer every time I spend $1 into it.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing, that the local money stays local, and the outside money comes in and enriches the local. And that's the big movement that's starting again.
We can have this. We can get these mountain hours, and they can be issued by the county sheriff. We can put him in charge of it. He signs it. He signs it. It's his note. He's standing behind it. He's saying this is real. This is real. This is you can exchange this. and it's working. I've gotten 2 interviews up that. That'll be going up on the co-op website very shortly here. It's the information you're putting out. I mean, if they know that their neighbors, hey Charlie, come on over here and give me a hand. Look, I'm going to put the solar panel on the roof today. You want to give me a hand?
Right.
We can buy the film, can't we? I mean, it comes in big rolls, don't it?
Well, no, I mean, you can buy it in a bunch of different ways. But again, I would start with just insulation. Hey, come on over to my house. I'm gonna put more insulation on my water heater. You see, that's something that's even more interesting because 1, I don't have to get up on the roof, and 2, he's got a water heater too. And the minute he sees how much you're saving, boy, he's going to want to do that right away. So, got to do steps that actually, grab people's imagination that they can participate in these things in a meaningful way. That's easy. The first steps are always the most important.
All right.
And
To do that, we simply need you to join the co-op. Go get the guy that makes the film, get him to join the co-op, and then we'll let everybody else in the co-op know where they can get their insulation.
Right. This is the stuff I use. This is how it worked. It took me exactly 1 hour to put this stuff on, and it lowered the cost of my hot water, by 70%. Without buying new hot water heater. That's big. That kind of thing, makes a huge difference. And you do 6 or 7 of those things in your home, and all of a sudden your total utility bill has dropped big time.
And this whole thing about the garden in the backyard, I mean, I don't find that at all unusual. My grandmother was wife of a Methodist preacher, and they lived next door to the church. And she always had a garden, and the best food I ever ate was over there. We almost lost the skills, canning, preserving, drying. We've almost lost those skills. We need to. That's something that we need to regain, and that's something I want to see the co-op promote.
Exactly. I mean, when I grew up, my mom always, had a garden in the back. We always grew vegetables, no matter what. I hated it, but I look back and I said, boy, she was totally right. There are a number of very simple things to do to, increase the nutritional value of the food in your backyard. One of the things that we found, which is almost completely unknown, but if you just go to the hardware store and buy a bag of what's called hardwood charcoal, in other words, like and this isn't the commercially made briquettes, okay? This is like oak or maple or something like that in chunks. And it's what that is it's like oak wood that's been heated so that all of the high volatile chemicals come out of it, and it's just reducing the carbon content. But what's left in it is the ash, and the ash has all the minerals in it that the oak tree was drawing up from 50, 60 feet below for 60 years. And so these are the exact micro minerals that your garden wants. So what you do with this charcoal material is you just grind it to a powder. It's jet black, just like copy toner. And so it makes everything black as night, including your soil. It's what makes your soil look black. Okay, and everybody knows dark soil is good soil. Well, this is the magic ingredient. You can just go to the hardware store, buy a 50-pound bag of what's called hardwood charcoal, just the chunks, the raw chunks, and grind that stuff to a powder and put that in your garden, and I swear to you, your garden will just explode. It's you can just one thing. It's just amazing. So it's not even sold as a soil amendment because so few people understand why to do it. But there's just really, really inexpensive things to do to increase the value of your food that you're growing. Just like all these other energy technologies, there's solutions all over the place that have been hidden from us.
That's right. And it's even the Bible tells you, the truth will set you free. If just building more independence, more self-sufficiency,
right.
I have a hard time. Although they did that, they actually came after me. Southern Poverty Law came after me for the whole Liberty Village concept. Everything we've just been talking about. They said it was all based on ego or something like that.
Yeah.
But these are organizations that are there to keep you happy as slave, keep you pleased as slave, keep you in just keep you going. Now, if you would you have the time or the ability to be my consultant on the basically in charge of referring the people in the co-op to the right suppliers, get the right cost of their. What I'm thinking of is basically, you want your coffee, you want your tea, we'll buy it in bulk. You get it at cost plus 10. Keep 10% back for the co-op to operate on. And then it's just a matter of.
Yeah, the co-op needs operating expenses as well. Is that?
I mean, we can with this.
Yeah, I would
with
be
this,
willing to lay out a list of breaking up.
Yeah, Les, go ahead. Yeah, I got that. You make a list.
Yeah, I can make a list of these energy, saving strategies and that kind of thing. Me and my partner have an electronic publishing company, and we're putting out manuals and different things like this in this genre. Later this year we're going to put out a book called Solar Secrets, which is going to lay out a whole way to put it together a solar system that's really inexpensive, that works really well, that doesn't kill the batteries. I have studied how to make batteries last forever. Big lead acid batteries can last 4 to 5 years if you treat them right. We've figured out all the things you need to do. You even take a dead battery and make it work again. We've got a lot of that material already available. So,
do you have an affiliate program?
This solar system in, you don't want to be buying.
Do you have an affiliate program for your book?
Yes, we do have affiliate programs for all of these electronic information products. Absolutely.
Yeah, send me whatever I need on that to Clay freeamerican.com, and I'll put it up on the website so it coincides with this show.
Great. I can do that.
It's we really got. I mean, what's happened to me is they tried to suppress me. I mean, I had 20,000 people reading my hard copy magazine. I haven't been able to duplicate that kind of response on the internet. So everybody rises to their own level of incompetence. Mine might be the internet. I don't know. But
it's different. See, the internet crowd is a different crowd. People who want to sit on their couch and read a magazine are not the kind of people who are on the internet, because people on the internet want to point and click. And if it doesn't immediately interest them, they just click on something else. Marketing on the internet is completely different than marketing, a magazine to people who enjoy, some quiet time in the living room. So it's not a matter of incompetence, but it's a different market. And this is 10 or 15 years later too, Clay. So it's a different generation. So, but we're trying to figure out how to market on the internet, and we'll.
We'll do that county by county. We can actually target certain counties around the state. Or just put it on everybody's door. Put it on everybody's door. Here's how you can save money.
Right. I mean, I live in Spokane County, and in the 2004 primary, Ron Paul won the Republican primary here in Spokane County. So, there's a fair number of people who, think these ways. In this area, there's about 500,000 people in the county. So, I know there's a lot of people recreational use, any
Well,
use you want.
Peter, I wrote books about this happening 45 years ago. This is the basis of my Solomon novels, my Solomon series, about a world in the future where all victimless crimes have been abolished, and you can get whatever you want if you and
Well,
there. I helped start Normal, and I financed Jack Harrow, who died up there in Washington, moved up there finally from Van Nuys. I financed him while he was writing Emperor Wears No Clothes. So the whole hemp.
so you know, it's easy to see what's a better idea, but society moves very, very slowly, and I think this is one of the reasons why people, misunderstand how quickly some of these things happen. If I mean, Jesus was a serious, rebel. In the middle of the Roman Empire, where life was very cheap and anybody could be grabbed off the street and turned into a slave directly, he started telling people to trust each other, to love each other, to turn the other cheek when you're wrong, to do all kinds of stuff. And if he just sat in his
What I do and more. And I think they tried to boot him up to the title of God because they didn't want men like you and I aspiring to be
I mean, it is an electric car, but I don't think it's not a prototype for a useful electric car.
Basis on the structure of this. I'll be doing the flyer this week, and the article will be finished this
Very good.
week.
Okay.
All right,
well, thank
sir.
you so much for having me as a guest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It'll be up on the website shortly. You just click on your name, and you'll be able to send it on a right click.
There, yeah, that was good.
All right, it's
Got it. Dave?
yes, sir. What?
Anyway, I said you got to let the neighbors do what they want. As far as the communist Canada thing. Can't lose our sense of humor in all this, Clay. That's the most important thing.
Well, you're right about that too. I say we've got to learn to enjoy the battle, and this is psychological warfare. We are going through it, and they've certainly got an agenda. As long as you keep feeding that pipeline, you know, we may have to raise gas prices a little bit this week because we got election coming up, you know, but. We can come out of her. I believe we can come out of her if we all work together. Because it's really important that you have to stop thinking.
Years ago. So again, you know, it's worth doing a little historic work to recognize, you know, to raise your appreciation level of you know, how good, you know, it is to be alive right now. You know, you know, with regard to you know, what else is going on in the world. It's a heck of a lot easier to be alive right now in the United States than in Bangladesh and in a lot of other places. And, you know, so
A wonderful lady. I said, how do we? The problem we got is how do you fight evil without becoming evil? And she said, don't fight.
that's what Jesus said. Don't fight.
Yeah, repeat that last quote for me because it was just perfect.
Yeah. It's you know, you can't build something beautiful by being against what's wrong. You know, you have to just forget about what's wrong, recognize that it will die of its own, you know, inappropriateness, and while we build something that will replace it later.
That's
and,
right.
By caring and you know, staying with the truth and staying with the facts and implementing what we can do now.
That's right. And folks, you got more power than you think. If they had as much power as they want you to believe, we'd still be under the Syrian Empire or the Roman Empire or the British Empire. And this whole New World Order empire, that's going to come crashing down when we take the power away. You are the power. You got a lot more than you think you do. All you got to do is use it. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Clay. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hmm? I know.